Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
What the most private thing you're willing to admit? I'm a middle-aged mom who will sneak to Target and buy toys for myself, like dolls, not collectibles, just toys. I hide them from my husband and just basically look at them when I'm alone. I think it's because I grew up poor and didn't have much, so now that I'm making okay money I'm spending it on random stuff in secret, and I feel incredibly weird and guilty because of it. I feel like I can't relate to 99% of people that I meet interact with, and it's getting worse. Feel like a total alien. I can't stand being around 98% of my extended family. When I was like 7 I went almost 2 full months strictly pissing in my mom's various houseplants because she yelled at me for knocking one over, so I got my revenge the best way I could think of at the time. I have no goals. We are supposed to figure out who we want to be and what we want from our lives. It's almost an expectation that we have to want something out of life, but I have never wanted to be anything, and I have never wanted to do anything. I have no passions. I don't think I'm depressed though. I've always been this way. I do have a job which is okay and a family I love, but I'm pretty much just going to keep existing until I don't.
What is that?
What?
Hold that out.
This?
Yeah.
What is it?
What is it?
What is it? I swear, it's like a baby chicken. What is that? It's a second chicken. Oh, it was pregnant. It was pregnant.
Women.
Secret codes are all around us that only people in the know recognize. When I worked at a supermarket many years ago, we had code 12, which was called on the speakers if they saw a very attractive person in the store. The code would also say where, so, for example, code 12 bread. 437737 means herpes in online dating. I saw a profile of a girl saying she has 437,737 cats and thought, I'm sure that number has some significance. Apparently if a person puts that number in their profile it means they have herpes and they want to let people know without getting embarrassed. The Jeep wave. I rode in a Jeep for the first time a few weeks ago and got waved at a few times before I asked what was going on. When dealing with the Japanese, that will be very difficult means no. In Indonesia, whenever you're dealing with anyone working in the government, police officers, custom officers, airport security, etc., when they start talking about how strict the rules are or how they need to meet some sort of quota, that means they're expecting a big bribe. I tend to play dumb and go, oh, okay then, I guess I'll just have to throw this thing out, go to court, not bother getting this document. It's fun watching them panic and try to find a subtle way of asking for a bribe.
Serious, have you ever purposefully tried to get revenge on someone, only to realize it hurt them way worse than you intended? If so, what did you do? Girl at school kept telling her friends my sister was a whore. I accidentally spilled chili on her new shirt. Turns out her gram had just died, and they had went shopping for that shirt together like the week before, making it the last thing she ever gave her. She was out of school for about a month for personal stuff, and, TBF, my sister is a complete whore. My friend was on the bus waiting to leave school. Younger kid was being mouthy and pissing people off, so my friend said something along the lines of, God, your parents must hate you. Turns out the kid was an orphan.
What's the most effed up thing you saw at a sleepover? When I was in elementary school, I got invited with my sister to a birthday party of one of her friends. Everything was going fine for most of the night, and then the catastrophe happened. Her mom came down to the basement and was clearly very upset, but didn't explain why. She then had each of us line up on the stairs from the basement to the ground level of the house and brought us in one by one. I wasn't the first in line, but no one was telling us what happened once it was their turn. Finally I was up, and her mom took me into the bathroom and showed me a trash can with a poop in it. She was basically on the verge of tears, pointing to the trash can and asking me, "Is this your poop? Is this your poop?" It wasn't. We never found out whose it was, or at least I wasn't told. We have joked that someone will finally come forward on their deathbed, but my sister and I have since lost contact with those girls, so we may never know.
Women of Reddit, what was the smallest thing a guy did on a date that seemed to be going really well? Date was going great, nice guy, really sweet, very smart. When he ate he took like 4 or 5 bites at a time before chewing. He filled his face as full as legally possible. His cheeks would bulge out, and he could barely keep his lips shut. You could see all the food mashed up and grinding around through his little mouth hole. I knew in that moment that I hated him. I always go on a date expecting to pay my half, but as you know, a lot of men pay for at least a first date. Anyway, we were at a coffee shop, and he stepped up to the counter, placed his order, looked back at me, and asked me what I wanted. Since this seemed like a pretty obvious sign that he was going to pay, I gave him my order and said thank you. He paid for the coffees, handed me mine, and said, "Don't expect this every time. Are you kidding me? I didn't expect this in the first place, asshole." Unsurprisingly, the date didn't get better.
What is one experience you think every single human should have? Having a friend who genuinely cares about you. Having no obligations or responsibilities even if it's only for a few days. Nowhere you need to be, nothing on your schedule that you need to do. There are no loved ones around who you need to consider. You literally have the freedom to do whatever you want whenever you want. Seeing the night sky with as little light pollution as possible. It's something else. Good sleep. Finding something so funny that you roll on the floor laughing. Feeling loved. Doesn't matter if it's romantic or platonic, but feeling loved in some way. Not worrying about money. Being debt-free as an adult. A total solar eclipse. Did that once back in 2017 and it was amazing. There's another big one in North America in about 2 years. Solitude. Getting to play in snow. What is the saddest thing you've ever seen? I have seen my husband cleaning my oldest son's eyeglasses. Every single time he cleans his own glasses, he cleans our son's at the same time. This is sad because our son passed away in April. The police gave us back his glasses with his things and we sat them on top of our microwave in the kitchen. We are trying to hold things together, but the grief is crippling. Just seeing my husband clean those glasses, well, it brings me to my knees. His quiet little act for our son. Anytime somebody walks out of the vet alone with an empty pet carrier. Seeing my older cousin bawling his eyes out, holding his 10-week-old son dead in his arms. When I was 22 I saw my dad cry for the first time ever. Something about that just shakes me to my core.
Doctors of Reddit, what is the weirdest thing a patient wouldn't admit? Not a doctor but a nurse. Had a patient come in with a toothpick in his penis. Refused to tell me how it got in there, insisting he was picking his teeth and it fell in. Nurse here. Had parents bring their 3-year-old son to the emergency department for 1 month of abdominal pain that kept getting worse. I ask all the routine questions for this complaint, lots of questions about his poop. Is it bloody? Diarrhea? Mucus? When was his last bowel movement? Any changes in the stool? They deny any other concerning symptoms but abdominal pain. We do blood work, ultrasound, x-ray. Everything comes back completely normal, but the kid is intermittently screaming in pain, curled in a ball. Over the next 5 hours I continue to repeat the same questions. I asked repeatedly if there was anything else going on that they could think of. Nope, the kid just doesn't seem well, but we have no reason to keep him. We decide to watch him a little longer, let him eat. The kid eats a bunch, a PBJ, apple juice, crackers, popsicle, no pain, so we decide to send them home. I bring in the discharge paperwork and I'm about to start going over instructions, and the dad goes, for the past 3 months he's had a lot of worms in his poop. Worms. Fucking worms.
If the world will end in an hour, and you are the only who knows, what would you do? I'd have my wife put on her favorite movie or show in the bedroom and I would hold her tightly. I want her to be happy when the world ends and that's all I would care about. I would go to McDonald's, because I like McDonald's. Then I'd have a wank.
If your dick made a sound every time it got hard, what would you want that sound to be?
Are you ready, kid?
Parents who have disowned or genuinely stopped loving your child, what happened? My siblings and I have stopped interacting with my oldest brother. We found out that years earlier he had molested at least 2 boys. He was an adult at the time. He showed no remorse. And turned the story around to say that those boys were at fault. It was so disgusting to watch someone you grew up with treat people so poorly and show such a blatant disregard for others. The good news is that the remaining 4 siblings have become closer and we now are able to appreciate the good we see in each other. It's true when they say that if you could pick your family it would look much different than it is. I love my son. But he abused me. When he turned that violence onto his sister by choking her, I had to say goodbye.
Non-Americans, what is strange about America? All the adverts on TV for medicine end with the same statement: may cause death. The 10 paid vacation days a year. How American towns and cities are generally designed so that you have to drive everywhere. Florida man. Public toilet door gaps. What the fuck, you guys? The portion sizes. Your taxes not being added beforehand to the price of groceries. It's the most backwards thing ever. Tipping. It makes no sense to underpay workers in food and expect the customer to make up for it. It should be the business responsibility to have a fair pay for workers. Using the word entree to mean main. Your obsession with the flag. I could go months in Australia without seeing our flag. You have to pay for fuel before putting it in your car. Here in Australia you fill it up then pay. Fahrenheit and the imperial system. What the actual fuck? That America has the smartest and the dumbest people in the world. Their health insurance. I just don't understand how the greatest country in the world can't provide basic healthcare to their own citizens. It is a 6-6 system.
Uber drivers, what's the deepest secrets you've overheard in your car? Former Uber driver here. Picked a girl up, a sweet girl from a bar on a Wednesday night, absolutely hammered, about 10 p.m. She got into my car, apologized for being so drunk and politely asked if we could just drive around a little while, with the windows down. I was prepping for a cleaning fee, trying to drive and pull a vomit bag out of the glove box, but no, she just did that airplane thing with one hand out the backseat window. She asked me if I had ever thought about dying, to which I replied, yeah, I guess so. That's when she told me that she had cancer. It was in her brain and it was too far gone to consider chemo. I remember my heart just pounding. She told me she was dying and she was going to be okay. Tonight she was celebrating with her work friends who threw her a going away party. She told them she was taking a position abroad. I just didn't tell them that abroad was heaven. Jesus effing Christ. I turned off my app and cried my ass all the way home.
What is the biggest bullet you've ever dodged? Why? At 24 I was offered a dream job where they would move me to Europe, put me up in a free apartment, and let me drive around to customer sites in a company car. Basically collect money to be on a permanent European vacation. Something felt off though. Said no. It closed 2 years later. I would have been unemployed and homeless in Europe. I dodged a via train at the last second, but I think that was a minor one. So when I was in grade school 1 to 8 I had this girlfriend, let's call them Jossie. She was horrible. She did anything to hurt me. She broke up with me on my grandfather's funeral because I was too nice. All my ex's smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat.